After finding ourselves on the run from the police, we're finally introduced to our two new main characters, Captain Beige and Lara Croft from the Indiana Jones series. Realizing that we're secretly the leader of the German army, we try to make an escape only to find out that we're being attacked by a bunch of angry Italians. Unfortunately for the angry Papa John's employees, Carrie Fisher is an avid believer in the Second Amendment. Unfortunately for Lara Croft, however, Dark Helmet from Big Brother 2 was secretly working with the Italians, who was not so happy to find out that all of his former employees were all one-shot by the female equivalent of James Bond. Now that we're on the run and being chased down by an angry Rick Moranis, we decide that we're finally going to try to escape. After killing off a bunch of enemies of the state, we find ourselves meeting up with a blue trash can in the middle of an alleyway on a spaceship so that we can buy some drugs, only to be caught by a racist. Now in control of C-3PO and R2-D2, we scour the streets of Gotham City before finding ourselves killing off a bunch of angry Italian sweatshop workers and escaping in a laundry machine to go down to Egypt, the planet, not the place. Now in control of a drugged out trash can and a British robot, we find ourselves being brutally murdered by a bunch of hobos with guns, who then immediately sell us to the Joker from the Batman animated series. Now in control of Mark Hamill, we find ourselves chasing down the sweatshop workers that we just bought, only to be immediately attacked by a bunch of cannibals who forgot that I have a literal gun. Turns out that we didn't need it though, because Herbert the pervert spoke an ancient Chinese curse and scared away the starving homeless people. Anyways, now that we've been introduced to a crazy homeless guy, Mark Hamill finds out that the old man is secretly the Scot, and finds out that he himself is secretly the Youngling Slayer 9000's son. As if overloading him with all of this information wasn't enough, the Scot instantly decides to hand him a weapon that his father used to kill literal children. Anytime Mark Hamill asked any questions, the Scot would simply respond by saying a Sun Tzu quote, or asking if he was working with the police. After realizing that he isn't getting anywhere with the crazy old homeless man, he decides that he's gonna go out for a drink. Little did the poor farm boy know, however, that drinks were the Scot's specialty. All it took was the smell of alcohol, and instantly the Scot reverted back to his old ways of making wives widows and committing multiple counts of aggravated battery. After having senselessly killed multiple lives, he realizes that he needs to get off planet and fast. So he pays some random pilot and his pet dog to get him, the boy, the British robot, and the blue trash can off world and away from the feds. Little did the Scot know, however, that instead of getting away from the feds, he would be heading right towards them. But not only did he have to hide from the feds, he also had to hide from the racist. Fortunately for him, however, the random smuggler, Indiana Jones, had a gun, and was able to steal some of the Space Police's uniforms. Now that Mark Hamill and Indiana Jones were inside of a giant space ball, they were able to start sneakily looking around. After Dr. Jones used his skill 100 to go and try to find a lockpick so that they could get out of the giant space ball, Mark Hamill realizes that Carrie Fisher is being held captive. The farm boy, having a boner, and Harrison Ford, only thinking about money, decided that they were going to try to free Lara Croft. Little were the band of misfits expecting, however, that killing a bunch of employees while inside of police uniform would bring a little bit of suspicion. Now, instead of being accepted with open arms by the employees, anytime they see us, they always get a little bit trigger happy, because they're definitely able to tell the difference between a couple of cold-blooded killers and a couple of their own friends. That doesn't matter, however, because Mark Hamill has the power of a Second Amendment and a crazy old wizard man that spouts out random Sun Tzu quotes. After ending multiple lives, Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford finally find out where Carrie Fisher is. After they finally break out the female space dictator, they're cut off by the LAPD. Seeing that there was no other option, they decided to jump down the trash chute. Little did the crew know, however, that they were secretly sent to a sweatshop, and inside of that sweatshop waiting for them was a pedophile. After deleting the pervert's 2TB homework folder and showing him a Bible, the pedophile disintegrates within thin air. After finally getting out of the underground sweatshop, Indiana Jones was a little bit hungry, so he chased down a bunch of space Italians. Little did he know, however, that the Italians Italians were secretly all working with the police. While the gang was splitting up, however, the Scot finally met up with his new foe. Little did we know, however, that his new foe was actually the Youngling Slayer 1000. But due to plot convenience, we won't say this until the next episode. As the gang all make their way to escape, they notice that the Scot and the racist were having a duel. But during the middle of the battle, the Scot just started randomly doing explicit yoga. Having probably already seen enough throughout the years, the racist just decides to literally disintegrate him. After Mark Hamill literally watches the only man that knew his father die in front of his eyes, the gang all cheerfully head to their base, where they plan to destroy the giant space ball. Mark Hamill, Lara Croft, and the entirety of the German army find a way to explode the giant space ball. So instead of sending everyone inside of the entirety of the German army to go destroy the giant death basketball, they send literally one crew of people, who almost all of them end up dying. But despite having everything against them, Mark Hamill had one thing that the entirety of the space police did not: plot convenience.
Luke, if you miss this, you're gay.
Anyways, after blowing up an oversized meatball, everyone lived happily ever after until I decide to make another video, and then we finally end our story.